Coach Jerry. How are you today?
Feeling like you're very close to me, Dusty.
So, Bailey and I started July 19th last year. Mm-hmm. Do you remember your first impressions of us?
Not in great detail, but I thought you were well-intentioned young men. Whenever anybody says to me that they engage in a fight club, I'm initially sort of suspicious of their motives and quite frankly, the skill level. But you guys have always been really great students, so I'm happy that you stopped in.
Bailey?
How would you describe us as students? Some of our traits that you may like or maybe not like so much.
Let's go.
Well, I view all my students the same way. Is I look for character in people. I'm not really interested in accumulating a whole bunch of people that don't have good character. So that's the main thing, and you guys are good people. Your ability or skill level development has been slowed down, retarded, because of your inability to get to class consistently. You know, you're both doing class passes, so I know you in particular, Dusty, pick and choose when you can come. And I know you have family obligations and other things going on like work. So that's the main thing, is get to class as often as you can and try to, for any student, not just you guys, and kind of temper your expectations based on how often you can get to class. So for a long time, I wasn't able to get to Syracuse for class for, once a week sometimes. Sometimes I wasn't able to get out there at all. So my progress was slowed down pretty much because of that. But you guys have been great. I really like having you in the school. You talk about it to other people. You try to bring people down. Gigi's here because of you. So, yeah, good thing.
Kind of answered one of my questions. My next question was, what advice would you give to a first year jiu-jitsu student? You kind of included
It's just
that.
the beginning. I mean, you just have to get used to being beaten. You just have to and you have to seek out the positions that suck to try to find ways out of them. It's just putting yourself in bad positions so that you can find a way out of them. That's my particular take on it up to this point, is I think white belt is just learning how to lose and seeing, oh, I shouldn't do that. Oh, when I did this, it was sort of successful. When I did this, it worked out okay. Oh, I should never do this. This is terrible. And then you just accumulate that kind of experience over time.
Got another one?
Speaking outside of just jiu-jitsu, in your experience of teaching martial arts, which ones have you found to be the most fun or maybe the most effective in like a self-defense scenario?
Well, I mean, my experience is pretty broad. I've done a lot of different things, and I sort of fell into those martial arts. I didn't seek them out. They just happened to be geographically convenient to me. There were a few that I sought out and a few that I did privately and personally on my own time. I think that a combination, it depends on what kind of self-defense you're talking about. If you're talking about real self-defense, I mean, you probably should know how to use a gun. I think jiu-jitsu is important, not so you can fight on the ground, but so you can get back up if you want to. I think that Filipino martial arts are the way to go because they're very versatile. You can use a knife, you can use a stick or something that's like a stick or empty hand. It's all sort of a universal language. That's kind of and wrestling. I mean, wrestling's great, so you can take someone down if you want. Jiu-jitsu if you're on the ground. And Filipino stuff is very, very, very effective. But that's kind of, I think the Kung Fu system that I know is very, very good at weaponizing your body. But I think that the self-defense is a little dated.
Last question I have for you. So we started when it was just a Jiu Jitsu club. Now it's a full-blown school. Where do you see the school in a year from now?
Well, gosh, I hope it's twice as big. Right now, we have about 50 students. I'd like to have 100. And I don't see any reason why we can't, now that COVID is sort of dying down. Once the summer ends and the school comes back in, I think we'll do pretty well with Hobart students, Geneva school system students, and you guys going out there and spreading the word. It's inevitable that we're going to be bigger. And I think we'll probably have in a year, consistently we'll have 50% more people on the mat. So tonight we had 8, so I think consistently we'll have 12 in a year, I think.
That was the last question I had. You got any more?
My last question was, in your time doing martial arts, would you say that, what kind of effect does martial arts have on a person's mentality as far as maybe confidence per se?
Sure.
What do you say about maybe yourself or people that you see come in here or in your time that you've been learning?
Well, I just think it gives you, I don't know if it gives you confidence, it definitely gives you a better understanding of who you are, what your strengths are, and what your weaknesses are, especially if you're doing jiu-jitsu, because you have an immediate sort of feedback on what you know, who's better than you. Are they better because they're younger? Are they better because they're more athletic? Are they better because they've been doing jiu-jitsu for longer? And you should be seeking out the difficult roles so that you can find what's wrong with your jiu-jitsu game to get better. So to answer your question directly, I think martial arts in general tends to be challenging. So when you engage in a challenging activity over a long period of time, you get more confident because you're doing things that you never thought you could do. And then you all of a sudden do them. You're like, wow, maybe I can do this next thing that's really difficult to do. You know, my upbringing was pretty horrible, and martial arts has always given me a home. It's given me accountability for my actions outside of the school. And it's given me this kind of broad base of family members. It's been a great ride. But I wouldn't change anything. I'm really glad we switched the school to jiu-jitsu, and 1 year down, and we'll see what the next year brings in terms of tournaments and skill development, for sure.
All right, well, thank you for your time, Coach, and thank
Pleasure.
you for all
Thank you for your commitment.
all the time that you've dedicated to us and the rest of your students for the year that you've been open now.
You're welcome.
And we look forward to more years to come.
Yeah.
Me.
What's your first year been like, man? What's your experience for the first year?
Extremely humbling.
Yeah.
Extremely humbling. I feel like anybody that has never done a martial art should definitely give one a chance, because if you think you are the toughest guy in the world, I promise you there are people that are so much better than you, no matter where you go. It's just simply going to be the case.
All right. So,
With that being said, though, although it's been humbling, I have enjoyed my time here because it helped me realize more about myself as a person.
what's some advice that you would give to a first year white belt, somebody new,
Somebody
for their first year?
go into everything with an open mind and understand that some things are going to click for you and some things are not going to click for you. I know for sure that there's some things that I know that I might not ever get because it just for some reason doesn't click in my head, and there are some things that I'm really good at. It's probably the case with a lot of other martial arts. Some things you're going to be really good, some things you're going to be really bad, and you should keep working at it no matter how many times you may or may not fail, because at the end of the day, it's all about just bettering yourself, not only in the skill that you're practicing, but also your mental well-being.
All right. One last question. So, what progression have you made in jiu-jitsu?
Well, I got a single stripe It's all striped and different colored belt system. So I did earn 1 stripe in the time that I've been in jiu-jitsu. In the whole year I got a stripe.
There you go.
That is a very proud stripe. I worked very hard for that. It took me a little bit to realize that, because I didn't know if I was deserving of it when I got it. But I finally came to terms with it. That I
Awesome. And you've competed now in a tournament.
Yes, I have competed.
Awesome, man.
It
Awesome.
didn't go well, but
But you got that experience.
but I got the experience, and I'm gonna keep going to them because you know, it's the intensity of a tournament is scary at first because it's a simulation of an actual fight, and I feel like once I get over that, then maybe I can actually see where I need to be going and see what I need to be doing to possibly like actually get good at going to these tournaments. Because the first one right off the bat, there's just way too many jitters to actually know what you are. Too many fears. Because you want to do good, or at least if you don't want to do good, you just don't want to do bad. And I feel like I focused too much on the fact that I thought I was gonna be bad, and then I actually like spoke it into existence.
All right.
Yeah. So, Dustin, now it's your turn.
All right.
So, as you and I both know, I was the one that really convinced you to go and sign up for jiu-jitsu. And you had your reservations about it at first, but what are your thoughts now that you've been in it for a year?
All right. Yeah. I was learning the Krav Maga stuff, and you know, we got talking about the jiu-jitsu, and you're like, oh, I want to learn jiu-jitsu, and then I found, well, you know, saw the Facebook post about the school down here. And you're like, oh, we should go, and I'm like, I don't know, man. You know, I'm trying to do this Krav stuff, but talked me into it. And you come to your first class. First class is free, and there's just something about it that makes you want to stay. And so kept coming, even though I didn't think this probably isn't going to be my main thing. But as you come more and more, and you learn more and more, you kind of fall in love with it. And like, you do have to temper that enthusiasm, because like, you know, a month in, you're like, oh my goodness, this is the most excellent thing in the whole world. You got to temper it and realize that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But yeah, you're right, man. This was the right move, and now I can say that this is definitely the martial art that I want to do, and I don't really want to do another one unless I kind of add something to my jitsu. And the only other thing is, jitsu is difficult. Just don't quit. That's it. So,
Get to class as often as you can.
yeah, get to class said by the guy that doesn't come to class as often as other people. That's this guy, not him. So, next question.
Alright, next question.
Motorcycles.
What has your experience been like? Would you say that this is possibly the most challenging martial art that you've done?
Yeah, I haven't done too many. I did karate for several years, and I did the Krav for a little bit. But this is definitely the most challenging because, well, for me, because I wasn't ever a grappler. I was always a striker. So a lot of these concepts are new to me. But even not taking that into consideration, it is a lot of new stuff. You know, ground fighting is not something that you instinctively think about. Like when you think about fighting, you don't think about taking somebody to the ground and what you can do to them on the ground. You think of the standing up and just slugging it out. So it was completely new. completely new stuff, but it's very effective stuff. But it does take a little while to learn and get good at. Still working on that, getting good at.
All right, last question.
Yeah.
How do you think jiu-jitsu, or maybe just martial arts in general, affects the mentality of a human being?
Well, if it's a martial art that's just practicing forms and movements, you know, that's great for health and discipline and kind of teaching character, you know, like not giving up and things. Jiu-jitsu does that, but it's a little more applicable as it does that. You know, Jitsu will teach you, if you want to stay in Jitsu, you can't compare yourself to others. You can't. Otherwise, you'll quit. Because you look at the next man, where that man is compared to you, and you're just going to get discouraged. Or you're going to get prideful, depending upon where they're at. And so you got to keep your eyes on your own journey. And you can't quit. Don't quit. Make it to class. But also, a big thing in Jitsu is you win or you learn. And we think of win or lose, but no, in Jitsu it's win or learn. If you lose, if you get tapped or whatever, you play it back and you realize where things went bad, and you make the corrections that you need to, and you know, you're better for it. And so there's things that you can learn that are good for you. That are good for you, not just on the mats, but really applicable on the mats.
All right. Well, I don't know about you, but I've had quite a fun year, and I'm hoping for many more to come.
I have no clue what this next year is going to hold. I believe it's going to hold a lot of tap outs, a lot of sweat, a lot of trying to strangle each other, and it's all going to be fun.
Oh yeah.
Close.